So after looking at this dua, then we switch topics. So up to this point, we're speaking about guidance, and now we're speaking about the opposite. We're speaking about people with misguidance. So first, we're going to talk about kafirs in general, and then we're going to speak about the Pharaoh, and then we're going to speak about people in the Prophet's environment who are kafirs. So first, ayah 10. Inna alladhina kafaru. This is exactly the same beginning that we saw for ayah 6 in Al-Baqarah. There, inna alladhina kafaru, as for those who have rejected, back in Surah Al-Baqarah, whether you warn them or do not warn them, they will not believe. Here, inna alladhina kafaru lan tughniya anhum amwaluhum wa awladuhum min Allah shay'an. Those who have rejected, their wealth will never help them against Allah. Their children will never help them against Allah. Okay. Now, over and over again in the Quran, we see this mention of your wealth and children. What's the relationship between the two?
Love. Love.
Yeah, that's basically it. And
It's also it's also a zina.
yeah, a beauty thing. Yeah.
It's like a thing like you
Like a
boast
luxury.
for.
Yeah.
Yeah, something you boast with.
Meaning, so the common element between your wealth and your children is a type of love that can lead you to show off, that can lead you to abandon your obligations to Allah Ta'ala. Okay. That we would like it to be that with our children, we will serve Allah Ta'ala even more, but the temptation is often to steer away from serving Allah Ta'ala for the sake of giving our children everything. Very, very common. That your mal, your wealth, you can use it to serve Allah, or you can use it to serve yourself. In the same way, when you have children, are you having children essentially to serve yourself, or are you having children to serve Allah Ta'ala? Same question. And so, the wealth, I'm supposed to use it to serve Allah Ta'ala, but Shaitan is calling me to use my wealth for dunya gain. And my children, the goal is to raise them like the Prophet, peace be upon him, with Fatima, radiallahu anha. But Shaitan is calling us, give everything, okay, sacrifice this in terms of deen for the sake of your child. And so, if my wealth and my children become my attachment more than Allah Ta'ala, it will never help me with Allah Ta'ala. وَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمْ وَقُودُ النَّارِ. Look at how scary this is. At the end of ayah 10, they are the fuel of the fire. How? How are your children, a'udhu billah, fuel of the fire?
Oh, when he says they,
Is it the
Yeah.
children or the kufr?
Okay.
People who do kufr. That's
Okay.
what I think.
that's what I thought.
So this could be referring to the children, it could be referring to the wealth, it could be referring to the kafirs. Okay, the kafir part is easy,
Yeah.
right? But I'm asking how would your children be fuel for the fire?
We're going to drive you in loving them and love obviously drive you to do things that will.
And if you don't use them to serve, oh sorry,
Yeah, so what were we saying?
if you don't use them to serve Allah, then they'll end up growing up not serving Allah.
So
it's doubly, so it's like doubly bad for you.
So it's this double problem that if I let myself take the wrong direction regarding my children, then it's not the child that's going to be thrown into hell, it's going to be me for my choices regarding my child. Likewise with my wealth, I mean, what's the point of putting your wealth in hell? The wealth is the fuel for hell, meaning that if I get attached to my wealth to the point that I disobey Allah Ta'ala, a'udhu billah, or I hold back from serving Allah Ta'ala, a'udhu billah, then that is making me potentially, that's fueling my pathway to hell. And the other side is essentially the point that if I'm disobeying, then it's fuel of hell. See what we're saying here?
It seems like it's saying that it's your children and your possession will not be helpful to you.
They would not be able to help you,
And
With
then
Allah.
you will be thrown into it.
because it says they.
Yeah.
So is the they referring to the children, or the wealth, or the kafirs? And I'm saying read each possibility. And the result is still the same. Meaning, if if I'm acquiring wealth to serve me, then my wealth is fuel for my fire. See what I'm saying?
So what's the context of Revelation? Why does it say kafar specifically and not everybody?
So, at the time of the prophet, peace be upon him, and in most times, where is often the biggest problem in society? It's the people of wealth, the elite, right? If the people of wealth, the people of elite are corrupt, then the follower is going to be corrupt. If the people of wealth, the elite are upright, then chances are the follower is going to be upright too, right? And so this would be someone like Walid ibn Mughira, although I think actually the ayahs in al-Baqarah are referring to him. He's the type of person that the prophet, peace be upon him, is approaching him, then Abdullah ibn Maktoum, the blind man, comes, right? Those type of scenarios. And so the point being that these are people who have already rejected Allah, and they're using their status to also keep other people away from the prophet, peace be upon him. Like, let's look really briefly at Surah Nuh, Surah 71. Surah 71 unlocks quite a bit of the seerah. Surah Nuh, Surah number 71. And whoever's using that edition, tell us what page you're on.
Just the beginning?
Well, we can start from the beginning. We've looked at this before, but it's a good review. Seventy-one.
Which ayah?
Right at the beginning. We'll start from the beginning until we get to the point where we're okay. What page is it? Oh, I got it right here.
391.
90.
Yeah, 391. 391. Okay, so indeed we sent Noah to his people, peace be upon him, saying, warn your people before a painful punishment comes. Ayah 1. So this is the assignment Nuh alayhi salam was given. So now he fulfills the assignment. He goes to his people and says, Ya qawmi, O my people, inni lakum nadhirum mubin. I am to you a clear warner. And what else does he tell them? Worship Allah and have taqwa of Allah and obey me. What will they get in return? Allah will forgive your sins, delay you for a specific time, and indeed the time set by Allah, when it comes, it will not be delayed. Right? So when the day of judgment is coming, it's set, if only you knew. And now he turns back to Allah after doing this for how many years? 900 years? 959 or something?
950.
950, okay, mashallah. And then he gives his report to Allah Ta'ala at the end of his da'wah. Okay, ayah 5. So he says, my Lord, I indeed have invited my people night and day. In ayah 6, whenever I invited them, it actually increased their run away from me. Right, this is how it works. You do da'wah to people, they actually run away from you faster. Then ayah 7, every time I invited them so you can forgive them, they put their fingers in their ears, they hide themselves in their clothing, and they continued doing what they were doing with arrogance. And then ayah 8, and this is what he's doing privately one by one. Then ayah 8, then I started calling on them publicly, aloud. And then 9, and secretly. Then I announced to them and confided to them secretly. And I said, as forgiveness, he is perpetual forgiver, and he will send rain upon you in big showers. And he will give you more wealth and children. And he will give you gardens and rivers. Right? He's giving you everything. And then he even asks them, ayah 13, what's wrong with you? You do not appreciate how great Allah Ta'ala is. While he created you in stages, look at the sky above you, and look at how it's created in 7 skies. And there's a moon that's acting as a lamp, or a light, and the sun is a lamp. And then in 17, he calls you to grow. And then in 18, he will cause you to grow again in the akhirah. And 19, he made the earth wide for you. And he made roads for you. And then, ayah 21. Noah said, my Lord, indeed they disobeyed me and followed him whose wealth and children will not increase him except in loss. And they conspired against me, so they planned it against me. And these chiefs, the elite, said, don't give up your gods. Wadsuwa Yahud, Yahud Nasr. And they've misled many people. And they do not increase anyone except in wrong. And so they were put into the fire, and then Nuh alayhi salam says to Allah, okay, don't leave any of them on the earth. If you leave them, ayah 27, they're going to mislead everybody else. And so he's asking Allah Ta'ala to destroy them. But so what was the problem here? One of the core problems is that you had these people who are among the elite, and this is what we're talking about, who, it's bad enough that they were kafirs, but they're using their influence to lead everybody else astray. That's essentially what I'm saying, right? Was that your question? Okay, so I didn't understand the question. What was your question?
I didn't phrase it well. In other places, it says that your children and your wealth are a test for you.
Yeah.
And that's
Your
for
wives and your
Muslims.
children are a test for you.
So why is this ayah specifically addressed toward disbelievers as opposed to everyone?
I think, but those ayahs are also present. But here, the paragraph is about disbelievers, right? Okay, so I could answer that in 2 sentences instead of all the other references.
Maybe this also goes with this question. I was trying to think that, what if somebody who is a kafir, their child converts and becomes one of the greatest Muslims, or what if their wealth ends up in a good place? But I guess the point is not that there can't be benefit, but that it won't help them specifically.
It won't help you in your akhirah. Unless they become believers and they pray for you, but if you already rejected, it's not going to help you. I mean, the key point is they've already rejected, right? And so if we give the example of someone who has opposed the Prophet, peace be upon him, but their children become Muslim, it's not going to help them. So another example, in terms of the kafirs, the people of Fir'aun. And those before them. They denied our signs, so Allah Ta'ala destroyed them. And Allah severe penalty.
Are you still in Nur?
No, I'm sorry, back in Al-Imran. Okay, so here's a question. All the different nations in the Quran that have been destroyed, why? Whether we speak of the people of Noah, peace be upon him, Pharaoh, Ad, Thamud, Qawm, all of them were destroyed because of the same, they all fell into the same formula. Why were they all destroyed? Same reason, every single nation.
Arrogance.
And what did their arrogance cause them to do?
Deny the truth.
So what happens in every case is that a messenger comes to them, they reject the messenger. And related to that, they take something else as an ilah other than Allah. Okay? And then they behave corruptly. And as a result, they get destroyed. So a messenger comes, they reject the messenger, and usually it's because they reject the messenger because they've taken something else as an ilah other than Allah, and because of that, they behave corruptly. They cause corruption in society, and then they get destroyed. So Fir'aun, what did he take as a god? Himself, right? So every nation takes something.
So what is it, what's first, the arrogance or taking something else as a god?
So I'm saying the messenger comes, and then they reject the messenger. But it's not only that they're rejecting the messenger, although you can say technically that's enough, but the deeper problem is they're rejecting the messenger, they're taking something else as an ilah other than Allah, and that's leading them to behave corruptly. And by behaving corruptly, what are we saying? It's now people are combining together to commit sins. So it's one thing if we're committing sins on our own, right? If you're committing sin on your own, you keep it quiet, you keep it secret, and you seek forgiveness for it. If you're committing sins with other people, that's severely bad, severely worse. Is then you are causing corruption in society. So ultimately, what did they do as shown in Ayah 11? They rejected our ayat, and Allah Ta'ala destroyed them for their sins. So the rejection, and then that gets followed up by this corrupt behavior. And then, what's going to happen to them in Akhirah? Have they paid for their sins by being destroyed?
No.
No. And in Akhirah, they're also going to suffer.
Fuel of the
I mean,
Yes,
may not be the right question, but, so what's the point of having them destroyed?
why?
Why not just let them live out their life in corruption and just keep piling it on? They'll
Why
make
did-
what?
Why did Noah, peace be upon him, want his nation destroyed? They're
So
gonna
they
spread
don't,
the corruption everywhere else. Yeah. Now, how does that play out today? Because after the prophet, peace be upon him, we don't hear about nations getting destroyed unless, somebody in the footnote say, they're being punished in their tsunami.
cause the prophet specifically asked for it.
So the way it's understood now is that when you, as a nation, behave corruptly, then it becomes easy for another nation to overtake you. Right? That when you are behaving corruptly as a society, then it becomes easy for another society to take over. So before, it was nature that would come, now it's other people, other nations. I mean, think about even the decline that's happening in our society. Is it because of the economy? No, it's because of corruption.
And we've corrupted, we as in America have corrupted the rest of the world, and soon China will take over.
Seems like it, yeah.
China's more corrupt than us.
Yeah, that's the big question. It's like, is there anybody left who's not corrupt as well? Yeah. That's the point. Why is it easy for you to be taken over if you're corrupt? Like,
Because you're self-interested and you're not watching.
because what's causing, I'm sorry?
No foundation.
Well, what's causing corrupt behavior when all you're thinking about is me, what do I want, and I don't care about anybody else, right? I mean, you're not paying attention to what's happening in the world, so it becomes easy for someone to come along, right? So just think of how simple the formula is. That if you're focused on keeping upright, then you're paying very close attention to your conduct. You're paying close attention to your rules. But if you're behaving corruptly, then you're not paying attention, you're not caring anymore. Just like in not this class, in my class this afternoon, I raised the question about bribery. So, would anyone say bribery is okay? Right? I give you this money and you do this favor for me. Right? You break the rules, you do this favor. Right? No one would say that's okay. But then what happens in so many of our societies where you can't do anything without bribing people, right? And then what do? Right? You have no choice, you can't get anything done without bribing somebody. And why are they taking a bribe? Because they don't have enough money for food, so then they have to even collect the bribe. It would be one thing if they said, okay, no, I don't need the money, but they actually need the money. And so when it becomes the normal behavior, when corruption becomes a normal behavior, people stop paying attention. And then it's like a snowball. And that is what Dr. Jackson keeps saying, is one of the things we have to focus as a Muslim community on in America, to be the conscience of America.
Didn't, he said something about doing something before China gets here.
Meaning we have to be the voice of being upright, and we can still essentially save America before the Chinese disassemble the country, or whoever else. And this was also at the end of the Ottomans.
It's terrifying.
What was the end of the Ottomans? The end of the Ottomans started really happening when they couldn't keep up with the Europeans in terms of their developments. Then they started taking loans from all these European countries, and at some point at World War I, and it all gets disassembled, right? I'm giving you the simplistic view of 200 years. But,
Just as a little side note, I
Yeah,
think
fire
he
away.
also says that we have a multiplier effect because of
Yeah.
the rest of the world sort of looking up to America
Uh-huh.
or imitating, but if we're no longer the superpower or whatever and China takes over, we would no longer have
That multiplying effect, that's what he
to
was
be able
saying.
to affect
Mhm.
good in the rest of the world.
That's right. That was at CT. I couldn't remember where it was. It was at CTS. The China thing, he said at CTS.
Dr. Sherman Jackson. It might have been when he visited you.
We just sort of fell apart under the weight of their
yeah, I mean, I think all those things go hand in hand, right? So another theory for why do nations decline and collapse is because they can't keep their economies together, and they have to start going to war for the sake of the economy, and then they can't hold their military together because it's all too expensive, right? But what I'm saying is at some point, someone starts breaking rules. I mean, especially if we're going to war for the sake of keeping the economy afloat, as opposed to going to war for justice and such. I mean, I suspect, and this is really out there, I suspect 100 years from now, when we look at why Bush took us to war, I mean, so what's the common opinion? For oil and this and that, and Cheney to get rich. I suspect part of it is also to save the country. That the country
It's heading towards a recession.
is going so down that all right, we just have to go to war.
Well,
figure out
wasn't
what-
it that isn't that what you said though, that when a country's on the decline,
They
it
start
just
going to war for the sake of revenue.
yeah. Who else did that? Did the British do that?
Many people, British, my youth did that.
Oh.
Okay, so back to here, back in I-11, the point that I want us to think about is why do nations get destroyed? And so a messenger comes to them, they reject the messenger, they take something else as an ilah other than Allah, and then they behave corruptly. And so we are trying to embrace the messenger's call, we are trying to turn to Allah Ta'ala as our ilah, and our job in society is to especially behave in an upright way. That's the question that I keep posing. That when people in our society look at the Muslim community in our society, and when non-Muslims look at us, do they see us as people who are more upright than they are? I don't think so. That's my question I'm asking.
Who sees
No.
us?
You know, generally the notions among non-Muslims who know Muslims,
Mhm.
right? I'm not talking about the people who watch Fox News. But the non-Muslims who know Muslims, right? In some capacity, so let's say the people of Skokie, Morton Grove, people of Orland Park, Ridgeview. When they see Muslims in general, do they have the feeling, the attitude that Muslims are more upright than the rest? Does anybody say yes?
No.
No one says?
I think on an individual, yeah, like when you do person to person,
Person, but what overall?
I don't think so. I mean, I think I've said this before, we started getting profiled at my university because we were known for ID swiping.
So,
They started picking out the Muslims at the parking lot because we kept sharing our IDs to get people
wow,
into the
even
lot.
I knew about that. I was even part of
Yeah.
yeah.
So they started stopping all the Muslims at the lot
So,
to match their ID to their picture.
okay.
And the reason I say that is, that's, the behavior, Pakistan and Nigeria are always number one, number two, talking transparency international.
Yeah.
In Bangladesh.
Those people are coming over here, I mean, and as first generation immigrants, you're gonna continue to follow that pattern.
Okay.
But assuming we stay Muslim, as you get assimilated into society, you're gonna hopefully, have better norms and go, we're not gonna do this type of thing.
Okay.
As long as you're integrating in the society, there's a different level of, I mean, not great norms, but there are norms that don't allow corruption, at least, for show, they'll put the governor in jail for a long period of time
Mhm.
because of what he does,
Okay.
right?
Okay, so if I'm understanding correctly, you're saying that, all right, if we have people who are coming from corrupt societies, then it's fair to assume their corruption is gonna continue here. But as their children become more Americanized, then they will probably start following the law,
Or, well, either that or they'll spread the corruption and it'll grow.
or the
here.
corruption will become, worse. But my question is will we, from there, will we reach a point where we're gonna have a better reputation than everyone else? I suspect that for most people, it's gonna be the same. Okay, there's the Christians, there's the Protestants, there's the Jews, there's the Muslims, and everybody's more or less the same, right? And I'm asking, then from here, is there a way for us to actually have the reputation for higher morality?
Yeah, it's you that, you've been teaching almost as long as I have, with your experience. I
No,
know mine is.
No, probably not.
Yeah, and it's the same thing, there's two Muslims I can think of over 17 years that held the expectation up to where I thought
Yeah.
they should be.
Yeah.
The balance of them were corrupt, bad, looking for out,
Yeah.
like you said, trying to get an easy grade
Mhm.
without doing the work, I mean, the exact
Yeah.
opposite of what you think they want.
Yeah.
Has anybody done any research on when we have a good book, and we have everything, all the rules written, why do we have so much corruption in those countries? Is it because we are twisting the religion, or is it, what are some of the reasons?
Well, I would suspect that part of it, when you have a book and you want to use the book to twist things, it's much easier than if you don't have a book, right? You know, that if I grow my beard really long and I say, Quran says such and such, and then Quran says this, then I have to listen.
So it means that we are the ones who are making it worse, right?
As opposed to who else?
No, I'm just saying that
As opposed to-
having the book, we are the ones who are interpreting
There's
it
the
wrong,
colonial
right?
narrative, which, I mean,
Right,
it's
so
in some parts.
Shouldn't we be looking at it, okay, we have tried this for 100 years, shouldn't we be do something different, or
Okay.
maybe try to interpret it differently than just
Okay.
keep going and saying, oh, it's ijaza from one person to the other, and we'll keep doing the same thing until we all fall in a gutter or
Okay, so
something.
tell me, what should we do differently?
Huh?
That's what the Taliban
Maybe
do.
have, another interpretation, or try to understand it better. Maybe what we are understanding is not the correct way.
Okay.
Something is wrong, that's what I'm saying. Why aren't we trying?
Isn't it
You
also a
cannot
lack
just
of
keep
it?
doing the same things and expect different results.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay, yeah, Shara,
Pakistan we call it danda. That's it.
okay.
That's
What do you mean by that? Like,
aren't milk. I mean,
If
if
people
the
aren't doing it
rule
right,
comes in, everybody just like straighten up. Then
Yeah,
that's-
but to
this
maintain
one-
the negative status quo?
no, just
he's offering that as kind of a joke.
Okay, but I mean, it's kind of true too. It's societal norm.
You don't make me hijack because you mentioned Dr.
I don't
Jackson.
know what it is.
You were
But
with-
that's,
you were
that's
with-
what the, that's
You-
what
You
the
have to speak louder,
so-called.
please.
Oh, sorry.
It sounds like a
Doing,
but I
private
thought you-
conversation.
No, I said this, that's what so-called is Muslim fanatics are doing, taking hands in their own hand and, danda. So,
No.
that doesn't work.
That means stick.
Oh,
That doesn't
No,
work.
I mean, our image is not good, but I just now look, we keep on doing
Maybe
it.
just for
Al-Imran,
temporary.
that Pakistani controller of, city of Chicago, controller of Pakistan. The news is all over the place. How can we have a good image?
I thought you were coming with the actor. Yeah, that's,
He's from
Which
One
one?
person does that, a newspaper, papers.
No, he's saying the actor. I'm saying he's from India.
No, Amir Khan, that is
Yeah, I know
an
you're-
Indian guy.
Yeah.
This is, it doesn't matter, India, Pakistan, Somalis, those Bosnian, whatever, Chechnyan boys, Boston bombing.
you're saying something.
I was saying, you were mentioning Dr. Jackson, and we talked to Dr.
So we're talking about Abdul Hakim Jackson.
Okay.
Yeah, sure.
There's about 6 people who met with him last week when he was in town, and they were all business people for the most part. And he was asking, what is your biggest problem with being a business person in America? And it became a difficulty of whether or not, forget about lowering your standards, are you able to even meet the norms of society here and retain your Muslim identity?
Yeah.
And it's a rare, we talked about the extraordinary effort it takes to hold yourself up to the ideals of Islam when you're actually in the business world and trying to get ahead. And there
So
were example after example of from the people around it about how difficult that is.
So you're saying that they're saying all these mashallah successful people are saying that it's hard enough just to keep your Islam if you're trying to compete to be successful in terms of business. That's what you're saying.
They were saying, yes, it's very hard to integrate, get successful in this society, and maintain your Islamic identity
Yeah.
for a lot of people in a lot of situations.
Meaning,
Because the
what
nature-
do they have to do?
Well, the examples that they gave were, really basic ones. People go out to drink, that's how they bond, business people.
Yeah.
So, Dr. Jackson's like, well, if your mind is strong enough, for the most part, not a problem. But I have to ask him, what are you going to learn? There's all sorts of bad things that people do all the time that get them more business. And at some point in time, you have to say, no. And
There's a guy on the sidewalk with a ladder.
yeah, trying to get up on the roof.
There's a guy with a ladder. Strange.
Keeps coming up on the window.
He's like,
Anyway, we were arguing it's very difficult. He was saying we have to do it. We should be excelling here because of our values. And we're saying
That's
because
fascinating.
because of our values, we're not only not excelling, we're actually getting held back.
Okay.
But a lot of people are making that argument.
So a lot of people are saying that it's very hard for me to behave Islamically if it's my Islamic limitations make it hard for me to do a lot of things that will help me in my business. That's what you're saying. I think it's true, right? Potentially.
but I mean, I think we're looking at it, we should be looking at it on the flip side, is that anything that comes in the way of my Islamic principles, then it's not good for business, you know what I mean? Like, if we're looking at this sort of a whole picture or a big picture thing, is that if I have to sacrifice my principles for the sake of business, it's like, that's not good for business.
The idea was, where do you draw the line, though? There's always a line that has to be drawn. Is it going to a bar? Is it going to karaoke? Is it going to golf where people drink beer? Is it sitting at a dinner table where somebody's gonna order wine? There's gotta be a line drawn.
Yeah.
Everybody has to determine that individually. It's not
Definitely.
like, well, we should never do it. Well, at one point in time, it bothers me to sit at tables where people are drinking.
Yeah.
But how are you gonna get business done if you go to dinner and you tell them it's not gonna happen?
I mean,
I mean, you tell them you don't drink, and you do your dawa that way, but again, are you technically violating the norm that don't eat at a table where somebody's got alcohol?
Yeah.
I know this is in
But
the,
where does it say that you cannot sit with non-Muslims or if they are eating pork or they're drinking? It doesn't say anywhere.
No, the-
So
There's hadith.
how
Hadith
are
is
you
about
saying that it
alcohol.
shouldn't be done? Why are you putting that restriction? You're working in a non-Muslim society and people will do all kinds of things as long as you're upright and you're doing what needs to be
Well,
done.
so-
Doesn't matter what
Okay.
other people are doing around
No,
you.
no, but he's not saying that.
If this was
What he's
not
saying
an
is that
company,
you
I'd
can
give
get
you
a
the
fine.
example that was brought up,
Mhm.
because that's a very clear cut and dried example.
The camera's on.
Take a client out, and like, you know, it's expected that you pay for dinner for the client.
Yeah,
If they order
that's-
wine or something, then
Right.
what do you do, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
In
that,
terms of- Yeah, if you're representing the company, right, you know,
Anyway,
But
sorry.
it's not your money.
no, but this is part of the issue. If you,
but if it's
The
your
reason he
business,
brought up
yeah.
the question was he wanted to hear what were the things that Muslims are thinking about
Yeah.
specifically in this area that preventing them from kind of getting ahead. And most of the people who were there were relatively successful, but they all had not the exact same, many of them had the exact same qualms that I'm expressing here. Not that I'm saying, I'm expressing what other people are saying.
yeah, I mean, and so then that relates to what's happening in society.
I mean, I still think that, I mean, my theory is that the reasons Muslims haven't been able to not assimilate but acculturate as quickly as, say, you know, other people is alcohol. I think that's the one thing that
Yeah,
holds us
alcohol
back.
is a big thing preventing that, yeah.
Because, yeah, I've said this before in our other classes, the Indians have been able to acculturate and become a part of the society like very easily in the last, you know, they're dominating pop culture now.
You
Because
are
they
not,
socialize.
if you're sober in a group where everybody else is drunk, you're not to be trusted because you'll remember what they were saying about the boss, about whatever, that shouldn't be repeated, that won't be remembered by anybody else.
But then on top of that, there's a distrust that you're different, right?
I mean, I think it's getting to be different now.
Sure, yeah, but I'm saying in the business world that, I mean, everyone, the norm is to get drunk and you're being the sore thumb.
Yeah, it's still, I mean, still business is dominated by white men for the most part. So even if,
But, yeah, that's true, but still, the point about alcohol is,
yeah.
that it becomes automatically wrong.
Mhm.
No, but this becomes the point that if you want to become the elite in your field, right? Can you do it while maintaining your Islamic integrity? Ideally, we'd all like to say, yeah.
what I was thinking though was that, you know, you were saying, do we have any better of a reputation than anyone else?
Yeah.
See, things like smoking, which was so pervasive for the past umpteen years, there's this negative campaign to make it something that's not a good thing to do.
So yes.
And it's caught like wildfire, and now, you know, you can't smoke indoors almost anywhere.
Okay.
We did not lead that.
Okay.
And the same with, like New York with the trans fats or whatever. You know, we didn't lead that either. So this alcohol thing is something that we could take on. It just requires people to really, you know, change things and keep addressing it. It'll take time, but it's
Yeah.
a campaign like any other
We
thing.
definitely could. Yesterday,
And it's not something that Muslims are the only ones that do
Right.
it. I mean, I regularly go to company
He's like, I go to the bar every day.
No,
And
and
not
there's
drink.
alcohol
I don't have to
served,
brag
you just
about
have to ask for it, and you don't
Yeah.
even have to pay for it, and at least a quarter of the people don't drink
Mhm.
at all.
Yeah.
That's very interesting.
It's not, and I'm like usually the only Muslim there.
yesterday I was at a talk with the head of CDC.
CDC Center for Disease Control.
Disease Control, yeah, Tom Frieden, and he was saying, you know, somebody asked him about alcohol, and he said excessive drinking is something that, you know, that we should be looking at, that we're not. And that it's actually a huge problem, and it causes they could directly link excessive drinking to HIV. like
Really?
the HIV infection, yeah, because you're,
Is that whole lifestyle?
yeah.
See, you can
There was
specifically do
a,
it teaching
there was a,
college.
on
Yeah, in fact,
TV,
now that you mention it, I think we're doing it.
program many years ago, I had
Mhm.
watched a very, I mean, ABC or NBC, something like that,
Mhm.
about discussion about the alcohol. And the guys were talking, said that if the alcohol is banned in this country, 50% the hospital will be closed.
Hospitals will be closed.
Yeah.
There's not enough business.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And yeah.
But not as many people are
Because the
dying.
majority of the emergency cases and diseases
Yeah.
is caused by the alcohol.
And binge
related-
drinking
Oh.
in colleges and,
This I had watched like probably 10 years ago.
Yeah, sure.
They, Colorado, I mean, they have
Yeah,
marijuana,
no,
free
we-
marijuana, so I think it's very difficult to, I mean, make it illegal now.
People are pushing one direction, we push the other direction.
Yeah, it's very-
yeah, we're not
Because
even
in
actually,
20s it was illegal,
yeah,
but people are making it at home
yeah.
illegally, so they made it legal, they legalized it because government was not making money. So it's another way to make
Yeah.
money also,
Yeah,
so
that's
it's a
true.
huge way,
They
But
wanna
it,
give up those
but the
taxes.
idea that we're not even saying anything,
Yeah.
yeah.
like we don't even make statements about it, our organizations don't say anything about it, that's kind of a problem.
But that's,
Go ahead.
I was gonna say our whole PR problem. Muslims just don't know how to market themselves for anything, mobilize people. I mean, that can change inshallah, but it's really a bad statement.
And then we just experience more anger from Anshum than we have in all the years combined.
I haven't even gotten angry. No, but I had a professor who like made it just an offhanded joke about what's the matter with you guys? Are you all drunk from the weekend or whatever? And I was so offended by it because I was like, you're just assuming the majority of the people
Did you raise your
were
hand?
doing it. No,
Say,
I
"Not me."
wasn't this person then. No, so I'm saying that that's the places where you can, like when I said you could do that.
Actually, now that I think about it, I did it a couple of weeks ago.
That's good.
How stupid you have to be to drink, and then I realized that one of the students in the class comes from one of the largest alcohol families in the entire country.
Alcohol families, like they own a,
Yeah,
Like Mr. Bush.
off the no, but anyway. So I thought, oh well, she actually got 100 in the class, like 100%. So, okay, so finishing up ayah 12. So what we're saying is that this paragraph, this section is essentially about kafirs. Ayah 10, ayah 11, ayah 12. Ayah 10 is speaking about kafirs, that you will have no protection, nothing to rely upon from your children or your wealth. They can't help you. Ayah 11 is referring to all the people in the past, and what was the central problem? They rejected the signs of Allah Ta'ala and they behaved corruptly. In ayah 12, then warning to those people who reject, you are going to hell. The language here is satughlabuna. You will be conquered. وَتُحْشَرُونَ, and you will be gathered إِلَى جَهَنَّمَ. Okay. So this is very fierce language. وَبِئْسَ الْمِهَادِ, and this is a horrible place to rest. This is setting the stage now for the next few ayahs, which are about the Battle of Badr. And so what have we seen? First, the surah is talking about Allah Ta'ala, the source of guidance, the source of your birth, the source of the books, and then from there we had a dua to Allah Ta'ala, do not let us go astray now that you've already guided us. And then from there we talk about the people of hell, and that is all setting the stage to talk about the Battle of Badr, inshallah. And that's what we will talk about next time. Okay, any questions? So the kids' school is not meeting next Sunday, but we'll still be here, inshallah.
you wanna meet earlier?
Sorry?
You'd like to meet earlier?
Next Friday, meaning, well, young kids' school is not meeting. Oh, I'm sorry, next Friday, the young kids' school is not meeting, so then, so Ruma asked if we can also cancel the older kids, so I said, fine. And I think we should still meet at the same time, 7:30, inshallah. Yes. Okay, سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. Okay, may Allah Ta'ala reward you all, and we'll continue in a few weeks, inshallah.